Fix these small English errors that hurt clarity. Hello and welcome back to the Executive English Coach. Today we're going to talk about something that many English learners don't notice. Not the big grammar mistakes, not vocabulary problems, but small English errors that quietly reduce your clarity. Your English may already be good, people understand you, your grammar is mostly correct, but these small mistakes make your message feel a little less professional, a little less confident, and sometimes a little less clear. The good news is that these problems are very easy to fix once you know what you're looking for. One, adding extra words that English doesn't need. Many languages use extra words when expressing an idea. English often prefers fewer words. For example, many learners say, "I discussed about the project," but in English, we simply say, "I discussed the project." The word about is not needed. Another example, I explained about the problem. Instead, say, I explained the problem, or I explained the situation. These small extra words are very common, but removing them makes your sentence cleaner and more direct. And in professional communication, clear and direct language is a strength. 2. Using I am agree. This is one of the most common small errors. Many learners say, I am agree, but the correct form is simply I agree. Because agree is already a verb, you don't need am. For example, instead of I am agree with your idea, say I agree with your idea. Or I completely agree. It's a small correction, but it immediately makes your English sound more natural and confident. 3. Saying more better. Another small mistake that appears very often is this: more better. But the word better already means more good. So we don't need to say more better. Instead, we say this option is better. Or this solution is much better. Here are 2 examples. Incorrect. This plan is more better than the previous one. Correct. This plan is better than the previous one. Or even more natural, this plan is much better. Again, this is a small correction, but it improves clarity and professionalism. 4. Using explain me. This happens because many languages structure sentences differently. Learners sometimes say, "Can you explain me this?" But in English, we say, "Can you explain this to me?" Notice the difference. The structure is explain something to someone For example, can you explain the process to me? Or, she explained the situation to the team. Fixing this small structure makes your English immediately sound more natural. 5. Saying return back. Another small error is using two words that mean the same thing. For example, I will return back tomorrow. But return already means go back. So we simply say, I will return tomorrow. Or I will return next week. The word back is not necessary. English often prefers simpler expressions like this. 6. Using discuss about. We talked about this briefly earlier, but it is so common that it deserves its own example. Many learners say, we discussed about the problem. But the correct form is, we discussed the problem, or we discussed the issue, or we discussed the situation. Removing the extra word makes your sentence shorter, clearer, and more professional. Why these small errors matter. Now, you might be thinking, these are small mistakes. Do they really matter? And the answer is yes and no. They don't usually stop people from understanding you, but they do affect how your communication feels. When your English is clean and precise, people experience your communication as clear, confident, and professional. And in professional environments, that makes a real difference. Clear language builds trust and credibility. The real goal of professional English. Many learners believe professional English means using more complicated words, but in reality, the opposite is true. Professional communication is about clear ideas, simple language, direct structure. When you remove small errors and unnecessary words, your English becomes easier to understand, and when people understand you easily, they trust what you say. Here's a simple habit that will improve your clarity. Here's a simple habit that can help you improve your English clarity very quickly. When you speak or write English, ask yourself, is this sentence simple? Or am I adding extra words that English doesn't need? Often, the best sentence is simply the shortest, clearest sentence. For example, instead of saying, I would like to explain about the situation that happened yesterday, you could simply say, I'd like to explain the situation from yesterday. This is clear, direct, professional. My final thought. Improving your English is not always about learning new vocabulary. Sometimes the biggest improvements come from removing small mistakes that weaken your clarity. Small corrections, small adjustments but a big improvement in how your communication feels. When your English is simple, clean, and clear, people focus on your ideas, not your language. And that's exactly where you want the attention to be. I'm Eric, your executive English coach. Thanks for watching.